Germany who can tell that the lovely little maid in her shining red satin cloak was swallowed by her grandmother, by the wolf, till they both came out safe and sound when the hunter cut open the sleeping beast. Compare Tom Thumb, who was swallowed by the cow and came out unhurt. The story of Sakdiva, swallowed by the fish and cut out again in Somadeva Bhagavata. And the story of Jonah, who swallowed by the whale. They're all the same myth. This is the fish. Capricorn's the fish goat, swallows the sun. The sun gets swallowed by the fish. This is the underworld. Little Red Riding Hood, as it has told in our nursery tales, Little Red Riding Hood is the evening sun, which is always described as red or golden. By the way, I'm reading out of Fairy Tales, Their Origin and Meaning by John Thackeray Bunce. And this was written in the late 1800s again. Wow, I've got a fixation with books from the 1800s here. Which is always described as red or golden. The sun, always described as red or golden. Old grandmother is the earth, to whom the rays of the sun bring warmth and comfort. The wolf, which is a well-known figure for the clouds and blackness of night, is the dragon in another form. First he devours the grandmother, that is, he wraps the earth in thick clouds, which the evening sun is not strong enough to pierce through. Then with the darkness of night he swallows up the evening sun itself, and all is dark and desolate. Then, as in the German tale, the night thunder and the storm winds are represented by the loud snoring of the wolf. And then the huntsman, the morning sun, comes in all his strength and majesty. The morning sun comes in all his strength and majesty and chases away the night clouds and kills the wolf and revives old grandmother earth and brings Little Red Riding Hood to life again. Or another explanation may be that the wolf is the dark and dreary winter that kills the earth with frost and hides the sun with fog and mist, and then the spring comes with the huntsman and drives winter down to his ice caves again and brings the earth and the sun back to life. So we see our nursery rhymes. I'm going to show you a whole bunch more of nursery rhymes. So this is the cycle that was observed, and all these signs told you in the agricultural year what to do, when to plant, but it also had this story, this gospel, and you'll see that the gospels are also wrapped up in this circle. The gospels always start with the sun in a manger. The manger is Capricorn, because directly above there's a manger in Cancer. There's a little asterism in Cancer called the manger. Capricorn has always been known as Golgotha, the place of the skull, the place of dying. This is the place of dying, because when the sun comes down, it dies in the winter. That's death, the evil part of the cycle. And it's ruled by Satan. Saturn, he rules under here. Okay? The sun, Jesus, rules up here, above. It's always the sun. Believe me. Everything is the sun, as I will show you. The story of Cinderella helps us to find out the meaning of our fairy tales and takes us straight back to the far-off land where fairy legends began, and to the people who made them. Cinderella and Rodopi, the Hindu Raja's wife, and the like, are but different forms of the same ancient myth. It is the story of the sun and the dawn. Cinderella, grey and dark and dull, is all neglected when she is away from the sun. Obscured by the envious clouds, her sisters, and by her stepmother, the night. So she is Aurora, the dawn, and the fairy prince is the morning sun, ever pursuing her to claim her for his bride. Speaking about all these fairy tales that have come from the East, this gentleman here says, they all mean the same things. That is, the relation between the sun and the earth, the succession of day and night. What else do we observe? It's dark now. Tomorrow it will be light. This is the most obvious feature, the most obvious striking feature of nature, day and night. There are other phenomena like volcanoes, earthquakes, floods, lightning, tornadoes, earthquakes. The succession of day and night, of winter and summer, of storm and calm, of cloud and tempest, and golden sunshine and bright blue sky. And this is the source from which we get our fairy stories. For underneath all of them, there are the same fanciful meanings, only changed and altered in the way of putting them, by the lapse of ages of time, by the circumstances of different countries, and by the fancy of those who kept the wonderful tales alive without knowing what they meant. Then he goes on to say that Perseus, in his weary, endless journey, the light pursuing and scattering the darkness, the glittering hero, remember Perseus, who slays Medusa? Medusa's the night. When Perseus comes up, all the stars run away. When the sun comes up in the morning, all the stars, 1,000 stars, that's what they say, they round it off to a number of 1,000 stars. That's why Samson, with a jawbone, he kills 1,000 Philistines. It's always 1,000. Because the sun coming up kills his 1,000. King David killed his thousands. So did King Saul, they killed their thousands. Right? Because when the sun comes up, all the stars hide. He is the hero, he is the superstar, he smashes his enemies. That's Perseus killing Medusa. The glittering hero, borne by the mystic sandals of Hermes, bearing the sword of the sunlight, piercing the twilight, or gloaming in the land of the mystic grey, slaying Medusa, the solemn star-lit night, destroying the dark dragon, and setting free Andromeda, the dawn maiden, and doing many wonders more. Or in Hermes, we might trace out the master thief of Teutonic and Scandinavian and Hindu legends. Or Heracles, the type of heroes who are God, like in their strength, yet who do the bidding of others, and who suffer toil and wrong and die glorious deaths, and leave great names for men to wonder at. Heroes such as Odysseus and Theseus, and Phoebus, and Achilles, and Sigurd, and Arthur. All the heroes get it in the heel. Krishna got an arrow in the heel. Christ got a nail in the foot. Achilles gets it in the heel and dies here. All the heroes live and then die. This is how it works. The hero is born, like Jesus in the manger, and then you don't hear from Jesus until he's 12. Because when the sun goes up to 12 o'clock, that's when he is found. That's why Mary and Joseph, after 3 days, they couldn't find Jesus. They went back and he said, "Where do you think I would be? I'm in the temple of my Father at 12 o'clock, directly above." That's why you hear about Jesus at the age of 12. And it also has to do with our solar system, because our solar system is governed by 2 planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the sun. Saturn takes around about 30 years. That's why Jesus is not heard of between the age of 12 and 30, because it has to do with Saturn and Jupiter. It's Saturnian. It's the sun, and it's Saturn, and it's Mars and Mercury, and all the 7. They always turn up in all our stories. Okay? So what happens is the son begins as a little boy, and he grows up and he conquers all his enemies, and here is the mark of conquering. Just please notice the cycle of the moon now. Okay? When you compare the cycle of the moon, here the moon dies at the new moon. It's black, you can't see the new moon. You surely can't see the full moon. It's beautiful. Now, as the moon climbs up and reaches quarter moon, that's the sun. They're doing the same thing. The sun and the moon, they are Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Okay? It's always the hero and his lover, the moon. Abraham and Sarah. Jacob and Rachel. Isaac and Rebecca. It's all the sun and the moon. So as the moon makes quarter waxing, the sun has also reached March the 21st in the sign of Aries, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. Because finally the sun has passed out of the Red Sea. And Israel has come up out of the Red Sea. So then here the king is always enthroned. The sun is enthroned up here in June the 21st on the solstice. And as Jesus climbs up to Jerusalem and he comes into Jerusalem on 2 donkeys, always 2 donkeys, the heroes. You'll find it if you read Apuleius's Golden Ass and all these heroes that humbly come into Jerusalem, come into their city of renown. They're always coming in on 2 donkeys because there are 2 donkeys. There's 2 stars here in Gemini. And when they see the sun passing those two stars called Asinellus Borealis and Asinellus Australis, that's the southern donkey and the northern donkey, they know that he has come in, the sun has come in by procession into Jerusalem. And always the sun then declines, and as he goes through the lion, he kills the lion just like Samson, and then he gets betrayed at the scales of Libra, the justice of the equinox. And then the longer days begin, and the fall happens, and the sun falls down, is betrayed by Judas Iscariot. This Judas Iscariot, Scorpio, when it says that Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus for 30 silver pieces, a silver piece of money in those days was worth $3.40. Do you think that anyone would betray someone for about, $60? Impossible. It's not talking about a literal story, it's the sun, because silver is a euphemism for degrees. Scorpio, Judas Iscariot, betrays the sun with 30 pieces of silver, 30 degrees of the sign of Scorpio. This is the betrayer. November, winter, no mercy. He bites the sun, and so does Sagittarius. Sagittarius has the arrow, and the arrow is pointing to the 21st of December. Sagittarius' arrow is pointing to the 21st of December, the solstice, when the sun dies. This is the arrow that pierces the hero in the heel. It's all there, it's all in the skies, man. All our mythology, everything in the Bible is here. All the stories of the Bible, all the fairy tales, they're all in here. Jack and the Beanstalk, Humpty Dumpty, sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears. It's all here. Every single nursery rhyme has to do with the sun. And just remember that as the moon performs her cycle, and of course this is corresponds with the womb of the woman. Okay, the egg in the womb, in the ovaries, takes 14 days to mature, and at that point there, that's when fertilization